Okay. So I'm going to bring a bit of a different angle, as always, to these sessions around boundaries. Now, I was teaching boundaries at a mental health retreat that I was working at, and it is the most important thing in life that I realised for myself, even working at a mental health retreat, and for the guests that came into this retreat. What I found is that we fall into different sort of ways of coping with not expressing boundaries, and for many reasons, and I'll go through all of that. But in society, we are conditioned and rewarded to work late, work hard, push through, be selfless. I mean, an example of this is when people, is it obituaries where people pass away and then they read about them and it's like they were selfless, they gave everything, they put everyone else's needs before their own, and it's really praised to sort of do that. It's conditioned into us to be kind, to be a good boy and a good girl. So this is the angle that I'm going to speak into, and how we can also then shift this perspective and live more interdependently, because we all have needs, and it's a matter of how can we meet each other's needs without abandoning our own needs, without self-sacrificing. So what are boundaries? Why are they so hard to live by? So I've got a lot of writing here and you can read through this while I'm speaking, but boundaries are generally what we like or dislike. And at the same time, it's important not to have boundaries in place to control others and control our environment. Because generally, when we have boundaries, we often want to we want to have them in place so we can grow with someone, as well as so we can nurture ourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally, so we feel safe and healthy and balanced. So it's kind of like a framework of how to interact with others so we can be, our cup can be full, and yeah, we can be a healthy being. So it's also a part of what is mine and what is yours. So we don't take 100% responsibility of a relationship, a workplace, a situation. We really need to have boundaries in place so we can know what is ours and what is someone else's. So that's the saying when you hear boundaries, people talk about where do I start and where do I end? That's what they mean around that. So it's so I don't take all of the responsibility on. I have needs too. As I said, they're not controlling others. Often when we can put boundaries in place as a coping mechanism with we think we're putting a boundary in place, but really what we're doing is putting a demand in place or trying to control someone else. Now, boundaries, the reason why they're not about controlling others is because we're the ones that need to uphold the boundary. So if I express a boundary and the other person is not hearing me, understanding me, I need to then decide what I do with that information, and I need to reinforce my own boundaries. So whether it is leaving that relationship, or whether it's a boss that you've expressed a boundary, you can't stay back late, and they're like, well, when you work here, that's what you have to do. That's a part of our rules. You have to stay back late. So then you've really got to decide whether that place, that workplace, is for you. That's why it's hard to express and live by your boundaries, because when it's a no, there's really no other way to sort of work around that unless you self-sacrifice, which is something we will speak into. So examples of like when it's important to express boundaries, when something's important to us. So our values are how we can create our boundaries, and our values are what are important to us. Micro moments in relationships. This is like saying maybe when you're in a relationship and you're getting takeout and you want pizza and your partner wants Thai, but you always kind of give in, right? You just, oh, it's okay, we'll just get Thai. Those micro moments add up, And then they become a macro moment. So it's when we get into conflict, we're like, you always get your own way. I never get my own way. So that means there's been some resentment building because we've constantly folded on what we want to give the other person what they want to minimize any conflict. So that's what I talk about, micro moments. They're generally those little moments of not giving yourself what you want, and that's where we take all the responsibility, where we say, it's okay, I can handle this. And we're not sort of meeting our own needs in those moments. So they add up. And then the macro moments are more around, those big things that it's like we have this boundary that's really important to us. It keeps us safe. And it's super important. Like we know it's a no or it's a yes kind of thing. So it's very clear. It's important that we have our boundaries there. So yeah, when you want to say no and you say yes instead, those can be macro and micro moments. The micro moments of that is, it's kind of like your brain will come in and be like, oh, it's okay, I'll do it anyway, and it will sort of justify, but your body will feel really heavy in it and exhausted, and it will want to say no. So that's when you're overriding what's happening in your body. When you're tired, when you need support. So those are signals, your body's giving you signals. And when we override those signals, we're not expressing a boundary. There would be a boundary there. So these are just some examples. Okay, so how do I know when I have a boundary and it's been crossed? Often we don't know what the boundary is until afterwards. So we might feel frustration, and resentment's a really clear indicator. If I feel resentment towards someone else, there's probably a boundary there that I haven't expressed. Anger and anxious, depressed, shame, hurt, and sad. And I'll go into why we can go from anger to even sadness and why we can go through those sort of emotions. How you feel in the body. So you start to get to know your yeses and nos. Your no in the body will feel heavy or tense. Your heart rate might increase. You might have tension in your face, in your top, like it's very top heavy. You'll feel really tense in your shoulders. Everyone will be different in this though. You'll feel different sensations around this. Sometimes we shut down and numb out. So for those of us who are more anxiously inclined, we will probably tense up and go into a bit of a defend mode, and our face will get tense as well. For those of us who are more sort of shut down in the sense of maybe we resonate more with being more depressed or numbed out, we will actually shut down our emotions. So we'll numb out and we will fawn. So that's another area I will go into. And generally you will know that you're fawning when you are self-abandoning. You're hyper-focused on the other person. Okay. So what is fawn response? The fawn response is when our nervous system goes into a fear response and it shuts down our own needs with a hypervigilance to the other person. What do you need? What do you want? Let's make this work. I don't want you to get upset with me. That's the fawn response. And generally that response comes from, it always does, comes from fear of upsetting the other person. We have a fawn response because when we were young, it was unsafe to express our needs, and the way that we sort of made things better is by fawning towards our caregivers. So what we would do is we would be like, what do you need? Or we would be like, oh, say when you're little and you're trying to get bits of connection again. So you would probably be like, I'll be a good girl or I'll be a good boy. What do I need to do? Maybe I'll go get my parent a drink of water. I need to fix it, right? So that's the fawn response. As adults, it more looks like the hyper focus on someone else, and it's like, what do you need? What do you want? It doesn't matter what I need. Let's just like focus on you. So it's kind of like the fixer, let's be positive. Let's like get out of this tense feeling. We don't want to feel that tension, and we're fearful of conflict. So we're trying to minimize it. We're trying to go, let's reduce the intensity of it. That's generally the fawn response. So it comes, there's a reason why we have it, and it's to protect us. Where it becomes unhealthy is where we have needs and wants, and the relationship is built on this. So what I've seen is someone might be more anxiously inclined, so they can defend themselves more in a relationship more. Also, they can be in that frustration. They know what their needs are. They can really ask for them. And then the other person might be a bit more shut down and doesn't know what their needs are and can numb out. So they often will fold very easily and fawn to the person that knows exactly what their needs are, or is kind of demanding the needs to just minimize that experience. Usually the fawn response comes in because we've had quite aggressive parenting. It can be abusive parenting as well, where we have been fear-based parenting, so spanked, generally use, if we have been hit or whatever it is, it's that brings on the fawn response. We're all different in the way we want to be treated and how we treat ourselves. So this is what we call individuation or individuality. When we're young, around 2, that's the terrible 2s. We learn in the terrible 2s, what's actually happening is the child is trying to find out what they like. They're experimenting. They're pushing your boundaries. They're also discovering who they are. So as we're doing that, we're understanding what our needs are, what our desires are, what we want to explore. We're really starting to build our sense of self. So as kids, if this isn't encouraged, what happens is we start to shut down our own needs and our own boundaries, because we are taught that our caregivers or parents' boundaries are more important, or being a good girl or good boy is more important. So then that's where we can sort of lose ourselves a little, and we enmesh. So individuation, the opposite to that is enmeshing with someone. You don't have needs, I don't have needs. We're just going to like help each other out here without sort of knowing what each other's needs are. So this is why it's hard. Enmeshment trauma is growing up being a parent. Sometimes that is enmeshment trauma as well. It's like you're holding space for your parents and they're not meeting your needs, but you're meeting their needs so you can stay connected with them. We've also got neglect. If you were never taught who you are, what you like, what you need, you were never sort of encouraged. And then conditioning, societal conditioning is very much around being a good girl, good boy, stay quiet. It's better for you to be seen, not heard. And it's, it doesn't matter what you need. You've got to just get up and go do it, push through. So then we sort of lose ourselves in that. And we become fearful of expressing our boundaries too. So why are they so important to live by? You're going to have people in your life that are going to come and go. And if you have boundaries, you will have the right people in your life, because they will know what helps you feel nourished, what helps you fill your cup. They will know your individuality. And so the people that don't like that are generally people that want to try to control you or want you to make them feel a certain way. So if you don't have boundaries, that's great for someone that wants you to make them feel better. That's really good, because they can call you whenever, they can come over, they can be in your space, whatever it is. It's better off in that way. But if you have boundaries, you're teaching people how to treat you. So you'll have the right people in your life. They help you stay healthy, balanced, and aligned. So they very much help you live a more in-flow life. Boundaries are your authentic self. So Gabor Mate talks about this a lot, around having your own needs and being able to express them, and how it's connected to our health and our health symptoms. Your inner world and parts are being heard as well. We have different parts, internal parts, and they really need to be met. And often if we don't have boundaries, we're only meeting one part. So you'll meet your parts, which will bring more balance into your life. Your relationships will thrive, your cup is more full, you have more empathy and compassion. Because your cup is more full, you have more capacity to hold someone emotionally, probably physically as well. You don't waste your time with people who mistreat you. You back yourself and your worth and value. So you actually are backing your worth. So you're saying you're worthy by having boundaries. And you start to trust yourself more. So all your parts, and that's around parts work, which I won't go into, but all your parts will start to trust, oh, I can trust my decisions because I know what my boundaries are. And when I express them, I feel stronger and healthier. So I start to build more trust within myself. So what's next? It's to start to feel what it feels like in your body, what a no feels like. And you can practice this, what a yes feels like. Notice when your fawn response comes in. Usually the fawn response, you might not notice it until afterwards. So you might have fawned with a friend. Fawning again is pleasing the other person, people pleasing. When you've done that afterwards, the signal will be resentment, anger, frustration. You'll be really annoyed with yourself, and you possibly may go into a shame spiral of being heavy and feeling really upset about fawning. So that's how you know you've done that, and there's a signal there. Also, anger and resentment's another signal around that. You can identify your boundaries, like invest in a therapist, highly recommend. Expressing and identifying your boundaries is a practice, and it's uncomfortable at first because we've got to deal with the guilt or shame that comes up when we start to meet our own needs and express our boundaries. So it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. Just like fitness, losing weight, all that sort of stuff. It's the same sort of deal there. It's a practice. The coaching and questions. Okay. So what I might do is just start with a question. I won't go into coaching straight away, but I'll just, if there's any questions that are around that, and then we'll go into coaching. James, if you want to do some coaching, would you like to do some? Yeah?
Yeah, we'll have a crack.
Oh, awesome. Great. Fantastic. All right. So if there's is there any questions with that content, around that content? No? Okay. Yes, Raya.
Oh, am I muted? Yes. So my question would be, when practicing boundaries, what's to be expected? Like, what's going to happen?
What's going to happen? Okay. It's a good question, because it will be an individual process. So let me just feel into that. What's going to happen when you start to express boundaries? Okay. What will happen is you will go into a fear response. That fear response, so what will happen is before you express a boundary, if you know you're going to express one, you'll feel fear in the body. You'll feel your heart rate start to increase, and you may go into a fight-flight response, because the fear is, I'm going to be abandoned, I'm going to be disconnected, I'm going to be shamed, I'm going to be criticized, whatever the fear is, right? Those are just some examples. Your body thinks that's going to happen because that's what happened in the past. So it's going back to childhood. And because it thinks that's going to happen, you'll go into a fear response. So you need to ride the wave of that fear response by being with it. Okay, I'm noticing these sensations in my body. I'm noticing I'm in a fear response. You can close your eyes and go in. You can talk to yourself. And then once you've done that, you can then go forward. So they say, they say feel the fear, but move forward still. That's what you would do with this. So you can still move forward, noticing the fear, maybe giving yourself, if you need anything in that moment, a few deep breaths, maybe calling a friend to help soothe you a little bit before you go in and express that boundary, and then move forward with expressing the boundary and holding it, because often we want to default So we might express a boundary and go into form. I've expressed a boundary. Okay, I would like you to, when you come over, could you please bring some food? But maybe you don't need to bring some food if you don't want to, but because like if you're too busy, don't worry about it. See how like I've expressed a boundary, but then I've gone into form? What you want to do is express the boundary and hold it and ride the wave of that discomfort that comes in. So when you come over, would you be able to bring a plate of food? Hold that. That's the most important part about expressing a boundary is to notice your process. Does that answer your question, Rhea? Yeah? Okay, great. Fantastic. Okay, James, hop. I might take you off mute. Oh, yeah. There we go. I think I'm okay, okie dokie. So I did read your question. Would you like to ask it again? What was your question for everyone?
You can probably repeat it because I haven't got it written down.
Okay, so it was, okay, I've got it here. Let me have a look. So I get it right. So are you happy for me to read out the whole part or do you want just the last bit? Well, yeah?
It's uncomfortable, but you know,
okay, good on you.
She's here right next to me, so it makes no difference anyway.
Oh, look at you both sitting next to each other. I love it. Okay. My wife and I have recently begun the process of separation. We live in the same home as all is amicable so far. What are the first boundaries we should start with to help with the transition? Oh, such a fantastic question. Okay, so I'll ask you some questions around this. We'll try to just go straight into this. My first question for you would be, what is really important for you in this situation that you're in?
Just trying to make it a smooth process without it hurting so much or feeling like I'm inflicting or receiving pain at the same time. So just trying to make it as least hurtful as it transitions.
So it's really important that you don't hurt each other. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what I would say is what is important about, so why is it important that you don't hurt each other? I know it's obvious.
Well, because we still care so much for each other. We, you know, it's just the two people that we are. You know, we don't fight or argue in a bad or, you know, vicious way. So we have two kids and we're under the same roof. So we want to keep the environment safe for them as well. So we don't want to expose the kids to any sort of, you know, bad vibes. So if we can keep it good between us, the kids can feed off those good vibes and we can, you know, continue on and transition.
Fantastic. I'm just going to a pen. Okay. So with that, what does it look like for you? What does it look like for you specifically to be cared for? Like for someone to be caring towards you?
Ready to go.
I don't know. I've always been sort of a selfless person. I've sort of not really put myself first. I more sort of try to make sure everyone else is okay before me. So I never really do focus on myself.
Okay. So you're not sure what it looks like?
No.
Okay.
Never been in this situation before, so.
Okay. So I'm wondering, so you're living it. The thing that I would get clear on is understanding what does it look like for me to be cared for? So as a general question, like what is it that is caring? And when is this really important that it shows? Is it because you said we don't really have conflict or anything?
Yeah.
And everything's
so I would still say we are in a caring environment. We're trying to hold more space for each other as we go through. We had a bit of time last night doing the same thing. We just sat down and shared our thoughts and gave each other some space, or held some space for each other. I guess that was sort of a big step in terms of us openly saying what we wanted to say. And in regards to caring, well, I can say that, she definitely cares and holds a caring environment for me, being that she can see how hurt I am by what's happening, and she tries to, I guess, help move me through this.
Okay. Yeah. What would help move you through this?
$1 million question. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. For me, it's a day by day sort of adventure where I'm just sort of taking it as my emotions move. I sort of try and move with it and understand what I'm going through. And once I sort of understand what I'm going through, I can then express it to her.
Yes.
As I go. Every day feels different for me. So it's just sort of taken as it comes.
So would you say that what would be supportive for you is when stuff comes up for you to be able to express it in a caring environment?
Yeah. Not feeling like I have to hold back in case I say the wrong thing or cause conflict, I guess, in an ugly way or anything like that, or no one wants to hear. Yeah.
Feel like you can give feedback without it being taken personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So because what you said, not feeling like I have to hold back in case I hurt is that in case I hurt someone's feelings?
Well, just, yeah, like obviously I don't want to hurt her, and she's the same with me. She doesn't want to hurt me either. So, but I think we both need to say what needs to be said as well.
Yeah.
Instead of just, as we always have for the last 15 years, we avoided a lot of hard conversations and saying things that we really wanted to say, because of the potential outcome in a potential argument or whatever it might be. And I used to always just sort of suppress it or brush it down as, it's not that important. So let's not even bring that topic up. Or if we touched on it, we'll just leave it as is because we didn't want to bring it up or see it through. And obviously that amounted over a long time.
Yes. So now you're seeing how important it is for you to be able to express yourself. Yeah. Okay. Well, that would be your boundary.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of, I guess.
One of. Yes. So what was important to you is that you have to have a caring environment, and then we identify what that caring environment is, and it's for you to have space held for you when you want to express yourself and to be able to be honest with how you're feeling without holding back. And for your partner who's there, or your ex, who's there, is able to not take it as maybe as an attack, to be more like, this is just how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess that's probably the biggest thing, to make it not feel like it's an attack or a personal attack or, having a go anyway. And I guess likewise, I'd want her to make sure that she can express herself without feeling like she might offend me or, that's going to be too hard on me to hear what she might want to say.
Yeah. Have you got an idea of how you could do that?
Well, I guess we're just sort of practicing it at the moment, where I took Ray's advice from the weekend when I had seen her about, we have a pillow and we hold it and we say what we want to say without the other person interrupting. And then the other person holds that pillow and says what they want to say without being interrupted as well. So something we haven't done before. And I guess it helped a little bit last night.
Amazing. Great. Is there, so that, I feel like I'm echoing at the moment. So did you feel like there was anything missing from that exchange? last night?
No, I wouldn't say I thought anything was missing. I slept well, which means that I said everything I wanted to say.
Fantastic.
Yeah, normally if I feel like there's something on my mind, it really lingers on my sleep effort.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to sleep better if I know that I've said everything I want to say, or if I've written down everything I'm thinking.
Great. Sounds like you're both doing really well.
Yeah, we're a very good team.
Yeah. Great. Good. Is there anything else? Any other questions?
I guess, are there any other boundaries that should be getting set? You're just in a typical sort of situation. I guess ours is pretty unique because it's not like a typical breakup where plates and glasses go flying and you can't stand the look of each other, and you have to live under a separate roof because shit just hits the fan every time. Where ours is, I guess you can say it's good, but because we do live in the same house and things are good, does it end up providing a stagnation in the process of moving forward?
Great question. What I would suggest, because it's new, it's a new thing. Sometimes we don't know what the boundaries are until we're in it and we're experiencing the situation. It's like when you go for that job and then you realize you don't really like the job, but you've said intellectually, like, this looks good on paper, but doesn't feel good being in that job. It may be the same situation there, or it might not be. So you've decided on still living together. And what I would do is feel into your body, because your mind on paper will say things look great, but your body might have something else to say. So that's where I talk about the yes and no in the body. So if you feel heavy day after day living together and you feel like maybe a subtle depression or a subtle numbness, then you probably know something's not quite right. If you have been, your interactions are getting more tension, or, you feel a bit of negative energy there, like you need to communicate something there. So starting to notice the sensations and activations in your body to know whether it's okay or not. Because the mind will always come in with like all sorts of excuses, justifications, stories, but your body will be the one that really sort of has the more around like what's healthy for you physiologically speaking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so just more listening to your body than your mind.
Yes. Does this feel good or does it not feel good? This doesn't feel good. Oh, why doesn't this feel good? Become curious.
What if you just don't know though? Like, what if you're getting these sensations and you can't recognize whether they are good, bad, or neutral, or you just sort of can't recognize because it's the first time?
Yeah. So I would start with the sensation alone. So that often when we can't recognize it, it's like you said, it's because it's new and we're practicing it. So first, what I do is, what sensation do I feel? Oh, my heart rate is increasing. There's tension in my face, my chest and my stomach. There's something going on there. And as you explore that, you'll start to notice that you'll actually come up with a feeling. Like naturally, you'll probably come up with, oh, this is what's happening here. There are like little tools that you can use around this, and it's called like activation when you're activated or triggered. So I do the work in that if you want to go deeper in that. But it is around just even getting to just noticing the sensations in your body first, and just being, and it's about being with yourself and slowing down and just seeing what comes up. Because generally our body it's got inner wisdom, like it wants to tell us stuff, but we're constantly sort of distracting ourselves from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you actually sit there and try to recognize what it is that you're actually feeling? Like, say, like in terms of, your heart rate starts to increase, we start to feel a bit of tension or anger or whatever it is. Like, how do you know it's not just a reaction to fearing what you're feeling, or just really being unsure of what it is or being confused with what it is that you're feeling because it's the first time you've actually sort of experiencing it.
So do you mean like, is there
just understanding, I guess, understanding what your body is actually trying to tell you.
Yeah. What I always look at is what's happening in the moment. So what's the situation I'm in? What's happening in the moment? Who am I talking to? What are they saying? So I'm always looking at the external as well, and then I'm going internal. So they just said this, and all of a sudden I'll have a physiological response in my body. When I have that response, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Why did I have that response when they said to me that, like whatever the is? And then that's when you start to explore it. So you might not have meaning. I guess that's the thing. Like you don't get the meaning straight up because it's a practice. I've been doing this for a long time. Ray has been doing this for a long time as well. But it's a bit of a practice to find the meaning from it and to be able to differentiate your intuition and your needs and your wounding that's coming in as well. Because sometimes the story will be really strong. Like they don't care about me. They're hurting me. There's like all this stuff that will come in, but there's underneath that is generally where our needs are and our boundaries are. So what I would say is, at the moment, what's happening in your body?
Everything.
Everything.
So I've been, forever, the story just plays in my head. I've never really listened to my body. I've just listened to my mind and my ego, and that's what's ran me for my entire life. So, of recent now, I'm listening to myself more.
Yes.
But it's just I'm trying to recognize what it's actually saying. So that's sort of been my battle because, my mind is fighting to keep control when my body is wanting to tell me what it wants to tell me. So I'm having this internal battle at the moment of trying to recognize the difference between the two. And when my body is speaking to me, my mind is also fighting to say, well, listen to me as well. So I'm just trying to split the two and feel what's right, I guess.
Yes. So I would say that you would probably, a third person would be really helpful because that person can help you navigate that more. Because if your mind is coming in that strong, and generally this happens to all of us, even therapists themselves, we see therapists, but if your mind is coming in that strong, then you need that third person to come in and take you through like a structured way, because your mind will want to take you away. It's like a meditation almost. It's like your mind just keeps wanting to take you on a story, like it will want to take you away from the meditation itself. So it's a similar thing when you sit to meditate, and it might be really difficult to do that because your mind keeps wanting to take you away, and then you're like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. So sometimes a guided meditation is what can really help us, or being in front of someone can help us. It's the same thing with this situation as well.
Yeah. Well, I find that guided breath work tends to help me get out of my mind.
Yes.
That seems to be one outlet that tends to work for me.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so it sounds like guided. And do you feel you live more in and this is just a bit of you might not know, but do you get more anxious or depressed if you get upset, like if you get stressed out?
Both.
Both? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
100% both.
And then go down.
It'll start with the anxiety.
Yep.
It leads to the depressed feelings pretty quick after.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I would say if you feel the anxiety first, and do you have a racing mind?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say anxious.
100 miles an hour.
Yeah. So anxious, and then you'd probably drop into shut down depressive state and then come back up. And so that's like the overactive mind. And yeah, that is your state is in that fear response. And so it's really difficult to do it on your own when you're in that state. That's why as you said, guided breath work is more supportive, and probably more like when you go do group-based stuff, that helps the co-regulation. When we go to yoga, when we go to breath work, we're actually co-regulating with other nervous systems, which helps us get out of the mind and back up into a more clear, regulated state. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I guess I would say is if you were to explore your upsets, bring yourself back into a regulated state as much as possible first, because your anxiety wants us to fix it in the moment. It will be like, get this fix it. We need to get to a solution right now. And
well, that's always been me. That's always been me to try and, if I have a problem in front of me, I try to fix it really quick.
Yes.
Try to come to a quick resolve. But there are some things I'm starting to feel like, well, shit, I can't fix this pretty quick, and it lingers. And that's what gives me the anxiety, because I can't find an answer.
That's why you go into the shutdown, because when we can't find the answer, then we shut down, because we're like, well, I've tried everything. Yeah. And now, boom, shut down. So that's why if we try to fix it in anxiety, generally it ends not so well either. It's why we want to regulate ourselves first. And that will be even a boundary with yourself. If you were to create that boundary, it would be, I'm not going to fix it until I become grounded and regulated again. And the discomfort in that is, like, sometimes we get really uncomfortable because we don't get the hit. When we fix it, we get a quick hit. It's actually like an addiction sometimes. So we get a quick hit and it relieves us, but then we go to fix something else after that. Like we're looking for other things to resolve after that as well.
Yeah.
So it's like an endless, and then we go into burnout because we're like, oh, keep going.
Well, that's definitely it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cheers.
What's been your takeaway from the coaching session?
Probably how you ended it there, in regards to setting a boundary for myself, that I don't have to try and fix it straight away, that let it sit and work through it. And the answers don't have to come instantly, or it doesn't have to be fixed instantly. It can be worked on.
Amazing. And Freya says this a lot too, start building the evidence, because what you'll find is the results will be so much better when you start fixing it from more of a grounded place.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you
For that. And yes, all the best.
Cheers.
Do we have any other questions before we finish up? Belinda, do you have any questions before you go overseas?
I think I'm all good, thank you.
Great. What was your takeaway from today?
The last bit at the end, especially because I'm a bit of a have to fix it as well. So that, yeah, sitting back and just letting it be for a moment.
Yes. Yeah. Taking a few deep breaths in and out, going for a walk, even having a shower, doing something to like bring you back into your body. Yeah. Great. Amazing. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. And I also do one-on-one sessions as well. So if you would like to work further with me, identify your boundaries, learn more practice around expressing them, I do a lot of that sort of work. And yeah, if you're interested, you know where to find me. Go well. Enjoy your night. See ya. Nice to meet you, James. Bye.